Most people think money comes from effort, from hours, struggle, and grind. But if that were true, the hardest workers would already be rich. Money doesn't follow effort. It follows energy. It flows to awareness, to direction, to people who understand how it moves. The rich don't chase it. They align with it. They see money not as paper, but as psychology, a reflection of clarity, not exhaustion. They think differently, so they attract differently. This isn't about working harder. It's about shifting how you think about value, time, and opportunity. Because once you master your mindset, money stops running from you. It starts finding you. For most of your life, you were told that success is a direct reward for effort. The harder you work, the more you'll earn. That's the law. Everyone repeats. But it's not true. If hard work alone created wealth, the world's richest people would be miners, farmers, and laborers. What no one tells you is that effort without alignment is just motion without direction. Working harder inside a broken pattern doesn't fix the pattern. It just exhausts you faster. The illusion of effort is what keeps most people stuck. They measure progress by how tired they feel, instead of how strategic they've become. They confuse busyness with purpose and sweat with success. The system loves that mindset, because the harder you work for small returns, the more predictable you become. Real power isn't in endless motion. It's in understanding where motion actually matters. Effort was never the full equation. Energy, awareness, and value complete it. The people who rise financially don't necessarily work harder. They work differently. They've learned to move their focus from labor to leverage. They understand that the economy rewards problem solvers, not just performers. It's not about how much effort you give. It's about how much impact your effort creates. The illusion begins early. Schools teach you discipline, not direction. Jobs teach you obedience, not ownership. You learn how to trade time for approval and call it stability. But real stability doesn't come from pleasing systems. It comes from outgrowing them. The world tells you to work for money, while the wealthy have learned to make money work for them. That shift is mental before it's financial. Hard work feels noble, which is why it's such an effective trap. It gives you the illusion of progress, even when you're standing still. You can spend decades doing your best in a system designed to keep you limited. The system doesn't need you to be lazy. It needs you to be busy. As long as you're chasing motion, you'll never question direction. We've been conditioned to believe that suffering equals success. The more you struggle, the more deserving you are, or so you've been told. But struggle without evolution is just self-inflicted stagnation. You can't grind your way to freedom if your mindset is still programmed for survival. The point isn't to work less, it's to work wiser. There's a hidden arrogance in blind effort, the belief that force alone can beat strategy. But money doesn't respond to force. It responds to flow. It moves toward clarity, innovation, and courage, not exhaustion. Every hour you spend without purpose is proof that the system still owns your time. True freedom begins when you decide to stop renting your energy to the wrong goals. Working hard is honorable, but it's not profitable until it's guided by understanding. People who mistake motion for mastery never get to see results that match their effort. They invest sweat into systems that only pay them enough to stay loyal. The ones who break free are those who pause long enough to ask, who actually benefits from my effort? That question is where the illusion starts to fade. Money doesn't reward activity. It rewards awareness. The highest earners don't chase work. They design systems that multiply their results. They've realized that doing more isn't the goal. Doing right is. Strategy creates leverage. And leverage turns hours into outcomes. That's why two people can work the same amount and live completely different lives. One is grinding, the other is growing. The illusion of effort is reinforced by fear. The fear of slowing down, the fear of being seen as lazy, the fear of not doing enough. But working non-stop is just another way to hide uncertainty. True discipline isn't in doing everything. It's in doing the essential things that shift results. The people who succeed aren't the busiest. They're the most intentional. Your body can't tell the difference between hard work and wasted energy, but your results can. Every day you pour effort into what doesn't grow you. You're teaching your mind to accept limitation. Real success comes when you step back and analyze, not just act. Awareness is more productive than exhaustion because it multiplies effort instead of repeating it. The system wants workers, not thinkers. It teaches you to equate effort with worth because that keeps you loyal. If you ever realized that awareness produces more than exhaustion, you'd stop obeying and start designing. That's what every free mind eventually discovers. The system's greatest weapon is not oppression, but distraction. The illusion thrives on the myth of fairness. You're told that everyone has the same chance if they just work hard enough. But effort alone can't fix inequality. Intelligence can. You don't beat a rigged game by playing harder. You beat it by learning how it's built. Once you understand the rules, you can stop following them blindly. Every hour you work without awareness strengthens the system you want to escape. The moment you learn to see how effort is manipulated, you stop being a piece of the machine. You start designing your own. That's when your work becomes creative instead of compliant. You're no longer trying to earn survival. You're building freedom. The illusion of effort fades the moment you attach your work to purpose. When you understand why you move, your direction sharpens. The same energy that once drained you now drives you. People who find meaning in what they do don't need motivation. They create momentum naturally. Purpose turns labor into leverage. Real wealth isn't earned through exhaustion. It's earned through alignment. Every wealthy mind has learned to measure progress by growth, not grind. They know that time is their most valuable currency, and they spend it where it multiplies, not where it disappears. You can't buy freedom. You build it through awareness. Hard work without direction is noise. The world rewards clarity because clarity creates value. Every industry, every empire, every legacy was built by someone who thought differently, not just worked harder. The difference between effort and success is focus, and focus comes from inner understanding, not external validation. Once you see the illusion, you can't unsee it. You start questioning the patterns everyone else calls normal. You begin separating identity from occupation and worth from wages. That's when the grip of the system weakens, because you've stopped defining yourself by what you do and started defining yourself by how you think. The illusion of effort was never the problem. The belief behind it was, working hard isn't wrong. Working unconsciously is when your actions align with awareness. Effort becomes a tool instead of a trap. You stop fighting the clock and start mastering your flow. That's where freedom hides, not beyond work, but beyond illusion. And when you finally understand that success isn't a race of endurance, but a strategy of awareness, the chase ends. You stop running in circles and start building in straight lines. The grind becomes growth. The struggle becomes skill. Because once you see through the illusion of effort, you realize the goal was never to work harder. It was to work awake. Money isn't just currency. It's confidence in motion. It follows conviction, not confusion. When your beliefs about wealth are limited, your results mirror that limitation. People think they're chasing money, but they're actually chasing certainty. The truth is simple. Money moves where belief flows. It gravitates toward those who trust their value enough to express it without hesitation. The reason most people struggle isn't lack of effort, it's lack of belief. You can't attract what you secretly doubt you deserve. Every action you take reflects your inner perception of worth. If you see yourself as someone who's always behind, money will confirm it. The mind sets the ceiling before the market ever does. Belief shapes direction. When you think small, you move small. When you think in scarcity, every opportunity looks like a risk. But when you believe in abundance, every risk looks like a doorway. The people who seem lucky simply think in a way that allows movement. They trust that value created will find its return. Belief opens the flow that effort alone can't unlock. Money is emotional energy, disguised as logic. It responds to confidence the same way people do. It trusts direction. Doubt tells money to keep its distance. That's why the same business idea can fail in one person's hands and thrive in another's. Belief isn't wishful thinking. It's psychological permission to receive. Without that permission, even opportunity feels like pressure. The wealth gap begins as a thought gap. Some people are raised to see money as control. Others are taught to see it as possibility. Those who view it as possibility approach it with creativity instead of fear. They understand that money expands through expression, through ideas, service, and courage. The flow follows belief because belief fuels movement. Every belief you hold about money was learned. You inherited it from family, culture, religion, or past experience. The problem is that old beliefs built for survival don't serve a world that rewards creation. You can't grow wealth with a mindset built to avoid loss. To change your financial reality, you must first unlearn the fear that built it. Belief is frequency. The stronger it vibrates, the faster reality aligns with it. People who believe deeply in their value radiate direction. Others feel it, even without words. It's not arrogance. It's alignment. Confidence isn't pretending. It's remembering that value doesn't need approval. When belief stabilizes, money has no reason to resist. Every transaction in life is an exchange of belief. When you sell a product, pitch an idea, or offer your service, what people actually buy is your certainty. They're not purchasing information, they're purchasing conviction. That's why skill without confidence earns less than belief with clarity. The energy behind your offer matters more than the offer itself. Scarcity beliefs act like blockages. They stop flow before it begins. You can't think, "I never have enough," and expect money to arrive freely. That mindset traps you in cycles of effort and disappointment. Wealth begins with new language, one that speaks possibility instead of panic. Every affirmation you believe rewrites an invisible pattern that controls your financial behavior. Money responds to self-perception. The more you respect your time, boundaries, and vision, the more value finds you. Belief isn't loud, it's consistent. It shows up in how you price your work, how you speak about abundance, and how you treat your own potential. The mind that honors itself becomes magnetic to opportunities that match its frequency. The most dangerous myth about money is that it's scarce. Scarcity benefits the system because it breeds compliance. If you think money is limited, you'll accept any amount to feel safe. But when you realize wealth is created, not distributed, your energy shifts. Belief breaks dependence. And independence is the first step toward abundance. Money doesn't chase chaos. It seeks order, clarity, and flow. When your mind is scattered with fear and urgency, you send mixed signals to opportunity. But when you operate with calm direction, you communicate readiness. Belief organizes your energy so that money knows where to land. Wealth is not about hustle, it's about harmony. You don't manifest wealth by hoping for it. You align with it by embodying its mindset. That means thinking like a steward, not a seeker. You start to view money as a tool for expansion, not validation. Every dollar becomes a mirror, reflecting how you think, not how you labor. Belief transforms spending into investment and earning into creation. Many chase money, but repel it emotionally. They want it but resent those who have it. They crave success but fear what it demands. That inner conflict keeps abundance away. You can't attract what you secretly criticize. Belief and resentment can't share the same space. Gratitude dissolves resistance faster than effort can. Money listens to intention. It flows toward confidence backed by integrity. The system can't suppress a mind that understands this, because that mind no longer competes. It creates. The strongest entrepreneurs, artists, and investors don't earn money in the traditional sense. They build belief systems so strong that money becomes the natural outcome of their clarity. Belief doesn't mean ignoring reality. It means shaping it. It's seeing beyond numbers into patterns of possibility. People with financial awareness don't wait for opportunity. They prepare space for it. The more aligned your inner belief is with expansion, the more seamlessly opportunities appear. It's not magic. It's mental architecture. To build flow, you must learn to detach from desperation. Desperation signals fear, and fear repels flow. Money isn't drawn to need, it's drawn to neutrality. When you stop chasing, you make space for receiving. The richest people are rarely the most anxious. They've mastered emotional detachment, not indifference, but inner control. Belief doesn't grow through repetition. It grows through evidence. Each time you honor your value, you build proof that your belief is real. The mind learns through reinforcement. Every aligned decision becomes a signal that abundance is safe. Over time, your nervous system starts trusting what your awareness already knows. You are the source, not the seeker. When you start thinking like someone who already has value, you stop negotiating your worth. You move differently, speak differently, decide differently. Money begins to respond accordingly. You no longer wait for it, you welcome it. The flow becomes effortless, because your identity finally matches your intention. And that's the truth. Most people never realize. Money doesn't respond to labor. It responds to belief. The stronger your conviction, the wider your flow. You don't have to chase wealth when you understand that it was never running away. It was simply waiting for you to think in alignment with what it already is. Energy following faith, value following vision, and money moving exactly where belief flows. Wealth isn't written in numbers, it's encrypted in patterns of thought. Every financial reality begins as a mental structure, a code quietly running beneath your daily choices. Most people never find it because they keep trying to earn wealth externally without first decoding how they think internally. The wealthy don't simply have more, they think differently. They operate from mental software that interprets the world through opportunity instead of obligation. Your thoughts are instructions to reality. Every belief you repeat becomes part of that hidden code, influencing what you see and how you move. When you think scarcity, you unconsciously make choices that keep scarcity alive. When you think abundance, your decisions start building systems that multiply value. The mind is the operating system. Money is only the result. Most people run outdated programming, thoughts inherited from parents, culture, and fear. They were told money is hard to get, that wanting more is selfish, and that risk means danger. Those lines of code were written by people who only understood survival. But survival thinking doesn't create wealth, it only preserves limitation. You can't install prosperity on a mindset built to avoid loss. The wealth code begins with awareness. Before you can rewrite your thinking, you must see how it's been written for you. Notice the language you use when you talk about money. I can't afford it. I'll never make enough. I just need to work harder. Each phrase is a command that locks the same outcome into place. The mind obeys what it repeats. The wealthy don't speak from limitation because their thinking doesn't start from fear. They think in terms of creation, of systems, leverage, and timing. They look for patterns in behavior, not problems in people. They don't say, I can't. They ask, how can I? That one question changes the entire algorithm. It transforms obstacles into information and turns pressure into precision. Your brain runs on stories. The story you tell about money decides whether it becomes your ally or your enemy. If you believe money is corrupt, it will always feel unreachable. If you see it as energy that amplifies who you are, it becomes a mirror of growth. The difference isn't education or luck, it's interpretation. Perception is profit's quiet architect. There's a rhythm to wealthy thinking, calm, objective, detached from panic. They don't chase opportunity, they calculate it. Where others see competition, they see coordination. They understand that every financial decision is emotional before it's logical, so they train their emotions first. Emotional control is the encryption key that unlocks consistent results. Scarcity thinkers look at price. Wealth thinkers look at potential. The first asks, how much does this cost me? While the second asks, what can this create for me? The difference isn't in intelligence, but in mental calibration. The code hidden in your thinking dictates whether you see limits or leverage in every choice you face. To access the wealth code, you must learn to think in value, not effort. Effort is limited by hours. Value is limitless when multiplied through impact. The wealthy multiply time through systems, people, and automation. Not because they're smarter, but because their mental code demands scalability. They don't trade time for money. They trade ideas for movement. The wealth code is subtle. It operates through your reactions. When you receive money, how do you feel? Guilt, excitement, fear? Those emotions reveal your internal permission for abundance. If part of you still feels unworthy, you'll unconsciously repel opportunity. To upgrade your wealth code, you must first allow yourself to feel safe, having more. Wealth isn't just earned, it's interpreted. Two people can experience the same opportunity. One sees pressure, the other sees potential. The code hidden in your thoughts filters what you notice and what you ignore. The wealthy have trained their perception to notice leverage points, moments where small decisions create exponential returns. You can't force new results from an old operating system. You must rewrite the mental code line by line. That means replacing judgment with curiosity, fear with analysis, and scarcity with creation. The goal isn't positive thinking, it's intentional programming. The mind needs clear commands, not empty motivation. Every breakthrough starts as a shift in inner dialogue. The moment you stop saying, I have to work for money, and start thinking, money works through my decisions, the architecture begins to rebuild. You start thinking in patterns, not paychecks. You begin connecting choices to consequences like an investor, not a laborer. Wealthy thinking doesn't reject work, it redefines it. Work becomes a multiplier, not a sacrifice. It's no longer about effort, but about efficiency, about how many results your time can create while your energy stays balanced. The code favors clarity over chaos, systems over struggle. You stop fighting to earn and start building to expand. Most people think they need more motivation to get rich, but what they really need is better logic. The wealthy think in terms of cause and effect. not emotion and hope. They understand that every outcome is predictable once the inputs are clear. They don't wait for miracles. They design equations. The formula is mental long before it's mathematical. The code hidden in your thinking is shaped by identity. You'll never sustain wealth that conflicts with who you think you are. If deep down you still identify as someone who just gets by, you'll unconsciously sabotage expansion. To change results permanently, you must outgrow the self-image built by limitation. Prosperity begins in identity before it ever appears in income. The mind must be trained to think in scale. The wealthy stretch their thinking beyond survival timelines. They make choices that pay dividends years later because their code isn't written for immediate gratification. Scarcity wants speed. Wealth wants strategy. You rewire your thinking every time you prioritize purpose over panic. When your thoughts evolve, your financial environment adjusts. People start treating you differently because your energy changes. You begin attracting collaborators instead of competitors, and opportunities instead of obstacles. The code you carry broadcasts your level of belief, and money, like any form of energy, moves toward the frequency that matches its expansion. The wealth code is not mystical, it's mechanical. It's built on perspective, patience, and pattern recognition. Once you understand that thoughts are architecture, you stop chasing results and start engineering them. You no longer ask, "What do I need to do to get rich?" Instead, you ask, "What do I need to think to stay aligned with wealth?" And when you master that internal programming, everything external rearranges. You stop searching for shortcuts because you realize the real code was never hidden in the world. It was buried in your mind. The richest people don't find the secret. They remember it. Wealth was never about possession. It was about perception. The quiet intelligence to think at a level where opportunity no longer hides from you. The most powerful people in any system understand one simple truth. Money doesn't move first, value does. Every transaction, every opportunity, every success begins with something given before it's received. This is the law of exchange, an invisible rule that governs every form of progress. You can't withdraw from an account you never deposited into, and yet most people try to take before they've offered anything meaningful. The wealthy think differently. They build value first and let payment become inevitable. In a world obsessed with immediate results, this law feels counterintuitive. People want quick returns, instant validation, and fast success. But that impatience breaks the flow of exchange. True wealth is built through contribution, not demand. When you lead with value, you flip the dynamic. Instead of chasing opportunity, opportunity starts chasing you. That shift in intention turns effort into magnetism. Value is energy, not effort. It's not about how hard you work, but how deeply your work impacts others. The wealthiest people think in terms of results created, not hours spent. They don't trade time for pay. They trade solutions for scale. The marketplace doesn't reward activity. It rewards usefulness, and usefulness always arrives before compensation. The law of exchange is simple but unforgiving. What you put into the world determines what the world returns. You can't trick it with shortcuts or noise. When your focus is only on getting paid, your energy communicates need, not power. But when you focus on building something valuable, something that improves, solves, or elevates, the universe adjusts to support it. Most people underestimate the compound effect of generosity. Every act of genuine value plants a seed that grows beyond its initial context. The reason wealthy minds give more is not just morality, it's strategy. They know that contribution multiplies attention, trust, and connection. You can't force people to pay you. You can only create conditions where paying you feels natural. The law doesn't care about your title or position. It cares about the exchange you create. The person who solves problems consistently will always earn more than the one who only performs tasks. Value is currency long before money enters the picture. The mind that understands this stops chasing compensation and starts building ecosystems of impact. The poor mindset asks, "What will I get if I do this?" The wealthy mindset asks, "What will this create if I give it?" That mental shift is what separates employees from entrepreneurs and dreamers from builders. You stop seeing contribution as sacrifice and start seeing it as leverage. Every problem becomes an invitation to expand your influence. Giving value first doesn't mean being exploited. It means leading with intention. When your value precedes your request, your credibility compounds. You create a natural imbalance that the world instinctively wants to balance. That's the science of reciprocity. People feel drawn to return what you've given, not because they owe you, but because your energy invited fairness. The system rewards those who understand exchange. The ones who demand before delivering get short-term wins and long-term resentment. The ones who deliver first earn loyalty, reputation, and consistent flow. That's why authentic service always outperforms forced persuasion. You can manipulate once, but you can inspire forever. Most people don't realize they're already operating within exchanges every day. Every word, decision, and action is a form of trade. Attention for meaning, time for value, emotion for trust. The question isn't whether you're exchanging, it's whether you're doing it consciously. Awareness transforms interaction into influence. You can't trick energy. If your value is transactional, people feel it. The law of exchange responds to authenticity, not performance. Real contribution carries a frequency that can't be faked. It's the quiet confidence of someone who knows that impact is inevitable because their focus is on giving, not grabbing. That's why the calmest people often create the loudest results. The wealthiest individuals don't worry about when payment comes because they trust the law itself. They understand that timing doesn't define value, persistence does. You might not get rewarded immediately, but you will get noticed. And once your consistency becomes visible, your rewards arrive with interest. Patience isn't delay, it's compound trust. The law of exchange reveals how energy circulates. It never disappears, it just changes form. When you invest in others, your return doesn't always come from the same direction you gave. That's why you must give without attachment. The universe pays through routes you don't expect. In opportunities you couldn't predict, detachment keeps the flow open. People who hoard value weaken their own leverage. When you withhold your ideas or refuse to share insight, you block circulation. Stagnant energy breeds scarcity. But when you contribute freely, you position yourself as a source. Sources never run dry. They attract, distribute, and multiply. Abundance follows those who keep the current moving. The law of exchange also applies to mindset. You can't receive abundance while clinging to fear. You must give trust to receive clarity. Give focus to receive opportunity. The inner trade comes before the outer result. Every mindset shift is a deposit into your future outcomes. Belief itself is an act of giving. Value-first thinking builds wealth quietly. You stop obsessing over price tags and start studying patterns of need. You begin to ask, where can I create change, rather than where can I make money? Ironically, that's when money arrives, because you've aligned your energy with contribution, not collection. Purpose naturally attracts prosperity. The reason this law works so powerfully is because it aligns with human psychology. People don't pay for products, they pay for trust. They don't invest in ideas. They invest in clarity. When your value creates emotional safety and measurable impact, your presence becomes irreplaceable. That's when payment becomes respect, not reward. The marketplace is simply a reflection of this law in motion. Those who take first run out of leverage. Those who give first run out of limits. Every innovation, movement, or fortune started with someone offering more than they were asked to. Value always precedes expansion. It's not kindness, it's intelligence. Once you understand the law of exchange, you stop worrying about timing, competition, or recognition. You realize your only real task is to keep building value that outlasts emotion and economy. Payment becomes a side effect, not a pursuit. You no longer chase validation. You create circulation. And that's the secret of those who seem endlessly abundant. They've mastered the rhythm of giving. They don't wait to be compensated to care, to create, or to contribute. They move with trust that everything they release will return multiplied. Because when value comes first, payment always follows. Maybe not instantly, but always precisely, and always in proportion to what you've given. Wealth begins in logic and dies in emotion. The moment feelings take control of financial decisions, clarity disappears. Emotion clouds judgment, exaggerates risk, and distorts value. Markets, opportunities, and timing all become chaotic when guided by impulse. The people who master money aren't emotionless, they're emotionally disciplined. They've learned that logic builds empires while emotion burns them down. Every financial downfall has an emotional root: greed, fear, ego, or guilt. Greed makes you chase what isn't ready. Fear makes you hold what should be released. Ego makes you prove a point that costs more than it earns. And guilt convinces you to undercharge, overgive, and settle. The difference between the rich and the reactive is emotional awareness. Emotions are natural, but untrained emotions are expensive. The system profits from your impulses, the ads you click, the panic that drives you to buy, the excitement that makes you overspend. Every market cycle manipulates emotion, not intelligence. The ones who win aren't the smartest, they're the calmest. They've learned how to wait while others react. Money magnifies emotion. If you're anxious broke, you'll be anxious rich. If you're careless poor, you'll be careless wealthy. Money doesn't fix emotional patterns. It exposes them without discipline. More money just multiplies confusion. Emotional maturity must rise before income does, or you'll keep losing what you gain. Wealth demands neutrality. It's not about loving or hating risk, it's about understanding it. Emotional people see risk as danger. Rational people see it as data. You can't grow financially while making every decision through the lens of comfort. Detachment isn't coldness, it's precision. It allows you to see patterns where others see panic. Emotion-based decisions always cost more than they promise. The investor who sells out of fear misses the rebound. The entrepreneur who gives up after rejection misses timing. The professional who chases validation works harder but earns less. Emotional reactions feel powerful in the moment, but weaken leverage in the long term. The wealthy learn emotional regulation before they learn financial strategy. They understand that mood is momentum. If it swings too much, your results follow. They build systems to protect them from themselves. Routines, mentors, and rules that keep emotion out of decision-making. Success isn't found in emotion, it's found in execution. Fear is the most expensive emotion of all. It freezes movement and convinces you that safety is strategy. But safety in excess becomes stagnation. While you overanalyze, opportunities move on. The mind addicted to fear doesn't realize it's paying a hidden cost, the price of inaction. Every risk avoided out of fear is potential income left unclaimed. Greed, on the other hand, wears the mask of ambition. It makes you chase fast results and ignore long-term value. The emotional desire to win now blinds you to compound growth. True wealth builders aren't chasing spikes. They're building slopes. They know slow consistency outpaces emotional excitement every time. Emotion turns money into identity. You start measuring self-worth through net worth, and suddenly every setback feels personal. But wealth isn't a reflection of who you are. It's a reflection of how you think. The moment you separate self from strategy, you stop panicking when numbers change. Detachment builds longevity. Emotion also manipulates generosity. Guilt convinces you to give from weakness, not from strength. You start helping out of fear of being disliked, instead of alignment with your values. Real generosity is strategic. It empowers others without draining yourself. Emotional giving leads to financial exhaustion and internal resentment. Ego is another emotional trap, disguised as power. It makes you compete for validation instead of vision. Ego-driven spending is why many rich people end up poor. They buy symbols of success instead of assets that sustain it. Ego wants applause. Wealth wants freedom. The two can't coexist for long. Discipline replaces emotion with structure. Systems are how the wealthy neutralize mood. They automate investments, schedule decisions, and plan reactions before they're needed. This removes the emotional guesswork from money management. Predictable habits outperform unpredictable emotions every single time. Emotion makes you reactive to external triggers. One bad day, one market dip, one criticism, and your focus collapses. Wealthy thinkers train to respond, not react. They pause, assess, and move with awareness. Emotional maturity isn't about suppressing feelings. It's about mastering timing. You can feel fear and still move forward. You can feel doubt and still invest. The goal isn't to eliminate emotion, it's to detach from its authority. Emotion is noise, strategy is signal. Once you learn to separate them, your decisions start compounding instead of conflicting. People who manage their emotions manage their results. They understand that panicked decisions create regret, while calm ones create control. Emotional neutrality turns chaos into calculation. When the crowd panics, the calm accumulate. Markets don't reward emotion, they reward endurance. Wealth grows fastest in calm environments. Emotional turbulence creates inconsistent action, and inconsistency kills momentum. The wealthiest people appear detached because they've trained stability into habit. They feel the same emotions as everyone else. They just don't let them decide the outcome. To master money, you must master meaning. Every emotional trigger has a belief behind it. If money makes you anxious, you've attached survival to it. If success makes you guilty, you've attached morality to it. Detach meaning from money, and it stops controlling your mood. Then it becomes what it truly is, a neutral tool. Emotion is not your enemy until it drives your hand. The moment it guides your decisions, it becomes resistance disguised as passion. The most successful minds use emotion as input, not instruction. They feel, but they don't follow. That balance is where clarity and wealth begin. The real lesson is simple. Money is math. Emotion makes it messy. The more you react, the less you retain. The more you detach, the more you direct. Emotional intelligence isn't softness, it's strategy. Because when logic leads and emotion listens, wealth doesn't just grow, it stays. Money doesn't come from labor alone. It comes from alignment. You don't chase it, you attract it through the energy, awareness, and intention behind your actions. People who seem to make money are actually moving in harmony with its flow. They create conditions where value finds them naturally. Effort without alignment feels like struggle. Alignment without effort feels like magnetism. The idea of making money is misleading. It suggests that wealth is produced by force, when in truth, it's drawn by frequency. Every thought, word, and behavior you express sends out a signal, and money responds to signals, not desperation. Those who master their vibration of value become living magnets for opportunity. Their focus isn't on chasing wealth, but on embodying what wealth responds to. You magnetize money when your actions, beliefs, and emotions move in the same direction. When you think abundance but act in fear, you create resistance. The universe doesn't reward confusion. It amplifies clarity. The more aligned your internal world is, the easier your external world begins to flow. Money is simply energy-seeking organization. Scarcity breaks magnetism because it creates friction. The moment you believe there's not enough, you push opportunity away. People who operate from abundance think in terms of circulation, not competition. They don't ask, how can I get more? But how can I create more? The mindset shift from taking to generating is the foundation of attraction. The energy you project determines what returns to you. When your work radiates authenticity and confidence, it becomes magnetic. People sense consistency. They can feel the difference between creation born of purpose and creation born of panic. The former attracts respect. The latter repels trust. Energy is contagious, and wealth follows the clearest signal. Magnetizing money requires understanding value as vibration, not transaction. It's not about convincing others to pay you. It's about making your value undeniable. The more impact you create, the stronger your pull becomes. That's why true wealth builders focus on mastery, not marketing. When you become exceptional, opportunity becomes inevitable. You don't need to chase what's already meant to come to you. You just need to stop blocking it. Fear, doubt, and impatience create static that weakens attraction. When you replace fear with faith in your process, your magnet grows stronger. Calm minds magnetize because they signal certainty, and money always moves towards certainty. Magnetism comes from congruence. When what you think, say, and do are aligned, your presence carries power. The wealthiest individuals don't hustle for attention, they attract it through integrity. Their energy is consistent whether they're speaking, working, or resting. That steadiness becomes a gravitational force in a chaotic world. Every decision you make either strengthens or weakens your magnetic field. Saying yes to things that drain you lowers your frequency. Focusing on what expands you raises it. You can't attract abundance while entertaining environments that mirror scarcity. Boundaries protect magnetism. Focus directs it. Money follows flow, not force. The harder you try to chase it, the faster it moves away, because chasing communicates lack. The ones who magnetize are the ones who've learned to act with calm urgency, clear intention, steady patience. They know timing works with them, not against them. That belief alone keeps their energy in harmony with opportunity. You don't magnetize through hope. You magnetize through embodiment. Becoming a match for abundance means living as if you already deserve it. That doesn't mean pretending to be rich. It means thinking richly, in gratitude, generosity, and growth. Wealth flows to those who make others feel wealthier for knowing them. Magnetism multiplies when your purpose extends beyond yourself. Money is drawn to meaning when your goals are connected to impact, helping, building, teaching, uplifting. People feel safer investing in your vision. The strongest magnets don't pull with greed. They pull with contribution. Service is the most powerful form of attraction. Your words are part of your magnet. Every time you speak lack, you weaken it. Every time you speak clarity, you strengthen it. The subconscious mind listens before the universe does. If you talk about limitation long enough, you'll start living it. If you affirm direction long enough, you'll start attracting it. Energy obeys focus. Magnetizing wealth doesn't mean avoiding work. It means aligning work with awareness. When your actions come from joy instead of survival, your productivity becomes flow instead of friction. That's why people who love what they do rarely work in the traditional sense. Their alignment turns effort into ease. You can't magnetize what you secretly resent. If you think money is evil, manipulative, or shallow, your energy rejects it. You can't attract what you judge. The wealthy aren't worshipping money. They respect it as a tool of exchange. The more positive your relationship with money becomes, the smoother its flow toward you. The law of magnetism is patient but precise. You don't control the timeline, you control the frequency. When your focus stays consistent, results begin showing up unexpectedly. New clients, ideas, partnerships, or inspiration. Those aren't coincidences, they're responses to your calibration. You don't chase alignment, you become it. Detachment amplifies attraction. The moment you stop needing money to validate your worth, it arrives faster. The universe rewards independence, not desperation. You don't magnetize by begging. You magnetize by being. Money moves toward people who move like they already know their value. Every magnet requires polarity, give and receive. You can't just want to attract. You must also allow. Many block wealth by rejecting compliments, help, or opportunities that don't match their expectations. But flow has no fixed shape. To magnetize consistently, you must be open to how abundance arrives, not just when. Magnetizing money is about mastering inner alignment. It's about feeling rich before you become rich. Not financially, but energetically. Gratitude is the first currency of wealth. The more you feel abundant in small things, the more life gives you bigger ones to match that frequency. Appreciation amplifies attraction. And when you finally understand the truth, everything changes. You were never chasing money, you were chasing belief. Money isn't something you earn, it's something you harmonize with. The work you do, the energy you carry, the mindset you build, all of it forms your magnetic field. Once it's aligned, money doesn't need to be hunted. It finds you every single time. The world glorifies hustle like it's a badge of honor. We're taught that if you're not constantly grinding, you're falling behind. But the truth is, hustle without vision is movement without meaning. It keeps you busy but not fulfilled, active but not advancing. Detaching from the hustle doesn't mean you stop working. It means you start working with intention. Vision gives direction to your effort. Without it, you're just running in circles. The hustle culture thrives on fear. The fear of being left behind, of not doing enough, of losing relevance. It convinces you that exhaustion equals achievement, but chasing constantly doesn't make you successful. It just makes you tired. The moment you pause long enough to think, you realize that the hustle was never the dream. It was the distraction. True growth begins when you stop moving for approval and start moving with awareness. Hustle is about proving. Vision is about becoming. The person who moves with vision may appear slower, but every step has precision. They're not reacting to noise. They're responding to purpose. Hustle seeks validation. Vision seeks alignment. You can't build anything meaningful from a state of constant urgency. When your energy is always in survival mode, creativity dies. Vision requires space, mental, emotional, and spiritual. It grows in quiet reflection, not in chaos. That's why some of the most successful people seem calm while the rest are frantic. They've learned that clarity outperforms speed. Detachment doesn't mean laziness. It means you stop worshipping activity. The hustle mindset measures worth by how much you do. The visionary mindset measures worth by how much your actions align with your purpose. One burns energy, the other channels it. True mastery is calm efficiency, not loud exhaustion. The hustle keeps you chasing more. More clients, more attention, more status. Vision makes you build better. Better systems, better impact, better meaning. Hustle works for the moment. Vision works for the legacy. The difference isn't in effort, but in awareness. A clear mind produces more than a busy one ever could. People who live in constant hustle mistake movement for progress. They confuse motion with momentum. You can be working all day and still be stuck in the same place mentally. The mind addicted to hustle can't see opportunities. It only sees deadlines. Vision, however, sees direction, not just activity. When you detach from hustle, you start hearing yourself again. You remember why you began. The noise of constant striving drowns your intuition, but silence brings it back. You begin to feel the difference between what drains you and what drives you. Vision thrives in that awareness. It reminds you that not every path requires speed, some require stillness. Hustle feeds the ego. Vision feeds the soul. The ego wants recognition. The soul wants purpose. You can hustle your way to success, but still feel empty when you get there. Vision fills that gap. It gives your ambition meaning and your effort direction. The real winners aren't the ones who run fastest. They're the ones who know why they're running. The moment you connect to your vision, the chase ends. You stop competing with others because you're no longer playing their game. Hustle compares, vision creates. Hustle is loud, vision is intentional. The difference is energy. One drains, the other directs. Clarity will always outperform chaos. When you're driven by vision, you don't need to force progress. It unfolds naturally. The right people, ideas, and opportunities align because your energy is consistent. You stop multitasking on meaningless things and start focusing on what compounds long term. Hustle builds quick wins. Vision builds empires. Many confuse detachment with indifference, but it's the opposite. Detachment is commitment without desperation. You give your best, then let results take their course. You stop forcing outcomes because you trust your direction. Hustle demands control. Vision allows flow. That surrender gives you balance, and balance builds longevity. When you live in hustle, your value depends on productivity. When you live in vision, your value depends on purpose. The first burns you out. The second lights you up. Hustle keeps your body moving and your mind scattered. Vision grounds both in harmony. It teaches you that doing less with clarity is worth more than doing everything with confusion. Hustle says, don't stop. Vision says, don't forget why you started. One fears stillness, the other uses it as strategy. The most successful people spend time in silence, not because they're idle, but because they're aligning. Every pause they take recalibrates their energy, ensuring every move that follows has meaning. When you detach from hustle, you start noticing how much of it was built on insecurity. The need to prove, to keep up, to show results. All of it stems from fear of being unseen. Vision doesn't chase validation because it's already rooted in identity. You no longer need applause to feel progress. Your direction becomes its own reward. The hustle is fueled by competition. Vision is fueled by creation. Competition is temporary. Creation is timeless. The hustler fights for attention. The visionary earns it effortlessly. You don't win by being louder. You win by being clearer. The more defined your vision becomes, the less you need to explain yourself. When you live in vision, rest becomes part of your productivity. You no longer feel guilty for slowing down because you understand that rest restores focus. The hustle mindset burns out its creators. The visionary mindset sustains them. It's not about working harder. It's about staying inspired long enough to make impact. You attract opportunities by the energy you carry. Hustle energy says, I'm desperate to prove myself. Vision energy says, I know what I'm building. The universe responds differently to both. People follow certainty, not struggle. When you're aligned with vision, your calm becomes your credibility. Detachment teaches emotional control. When you're not attached to every outcome, failure loses its sting. You learn from mistakes instead of taking them personally. The hustler quits when results don't come fast. The visionary adjusts, refines, and persists. Detachment transforms reaction into reflection. And that's where growth happens. Hustle creates noise. Vision creates strategy. The constant push of doing more dilutes impact. The visionary, however, does less but with precision. Their consistency compounds because their energy is directed, not scattered. When your work aligns with your vision, the world feels it and responds. Success becomes sustainable only when you stop rushing it. Hustle promises speed, but delivers burnout. Vision promises patience, but delivers mastery. Every lasting success story was built by someone who could slow down long enough to think clearly. That pause is where power hides. In perspective, not panic. You don't abandon ambition when you detach from hustle. You refine it. You stop acting out of anxiety and start operating from awareness. Your motivation shifts from I have to win to I'm building something that matters. Vision replaces urgency with purpose. That's when your effort finally begins to feel peaceful. The visionary mindset doesn't need chaos to feel alive. It finds fulfillment in progress that aligns with identity. You no longer feel lost in motion because your moves come from meaning. Detachment frees your focus, and focus builds your future. When you connect to vision, work stops being a grind. It becomes a calling. And that's the transformation most people never reach. They spend their lives running fast, but never far, mistaking exhaustion for success. But once you detach from the hustle and connect to the vision, everything shifts. You stop chasing timelines and start trusting timing. Because real success isn't about how much you move, it's about how clearly you're guided while you move. Money doesn't disappear. It simply moves toward those who understand its language. To think like money means to understand what it values, how it behaves, and what environments make it flow. Most people treat money emotionally. They chase it, fear it, or waste it. But money respects structure, purpose, and calm. When you stop reacting to it and start thinking like it, you stop losing it. Money moves like water. It seeks direction, containment, and consistency. It avoids chaos and stagnation. When your habits leak energy through impulsive spending, disorganization, or emotional decisions, you're telling money it isn't safe with you. But when your thoughts, systems, and mindset create clarity, money stays because it feels managed, not manipulated. Thinking like money means thinking in circulation, not accumulation. The rich don't hoard wealth. They circulate it through assets, ideas, and impact. They understand that every dollar is a seed, not a souvenir. It's meant to move, multiply, and return. Scarcity makes people cling. Awareness makes them invest. Money doesn't follow noise. It follows intelligence. Those who panic every time the economy shifts never realize that chaos is simply the market reorganizing itself. Money doesn't flee from uncertainty. It flees from ignorance. When you know how it works, Downturns become openings. The system always rewards those who remain rational when others react. To think like money, you must detach from greed. Greed is emotional urgency, disguised as ambition. It makes you chase short-term highs instead of long-term compounding. Money thrives in patience. It multiplies in stillness. When you move too fast, you create mistakes. When you move with intention, you create momentum. Money loves clarity because clarity eliminates confusion, and confusion wastes energy. Every dollar you earn should already have a purpose before it arrives. The wealthiest people assign their money direction, while the average person lets it drift. Purposeful flow creates growth. Passive possession creates decay. Thinking like money requires seeing everything as exchange, not expense. Most people see spending as loss, but investors see it as movement. Money multiplies when used intelligently, to acquire skills, build systems, or generate solutions. You don't lose money when you spend it wisely. You relocate it into a position where it can work for you. Money doesn't reward emotion. It rewards observation. When you think like money, you stop trying to control outcomes and start managing behavior. You learn to recognize patterns, when to move, when to pause, and when to let things play out. Emotional investors collapse under pressure. Strategic ones thrive in patience. The reason money escapes most people isn't lack of effort, it's lack of identity. They still think like workers, not like wealth creators. They see money as something external, instead of an extension of mindset. Once you begin thinking like a manager, not a victim of money, every decision becomes a statement of leadership. Money is data, not drama. It tells you what you prioritize, how disciplined you are, and how you handle reward. People ignore this feedback and repeat the same mistakes, expecting new results. Thinking like money means treating every dollar as information, not something to fear, but something to study. Every financial decision should reflect long-term design, not momentary desire. When you think like money, impulse spending loses its charm. You no longer chase symbols of success because your focus shifts to systems that sustain it. Wealth is not about how much you make. It's about how long it stays and how effectively it grows. Money isn't loyal to people. It's loyal to principles. It flows towards structure, efficiency, and purpose. The moment you create habits that embody those principles, you stop needing to chase it. Systems replace stress. Structure replaces scarcity. Once your environment reflects order, wealth has no reason to leave. Thinking like money also means learning detachment. Money doesn't cling, it circulates. When you hold it too tightly out of fear, you block flow. But when you treat it as a partner, not a possession, it multiplies naturally. Detachment doesn't mean carelessness. It means trust in your own management. The wealthiest minds don't count every dollar. They count every decision. They measure the return of their time, focus, and energy. They understand that financial intelligence is built from small, consistent actions, not dramatic windfalls. Thinking like money is discipline disguised as calm. Money expands through neutrality. When you remove emotion, you make room for logic. You start analyzing opportunities instead of reacting to them. That neutrality becomes magnetic. It attracts other people who value order and growth. Eventually, money stops being a pursuit and becomes a conversation between clarity and opportunity. Thinking like money means understanding timing. Wealth is built on patience that others mislabel as luck. Those who act too soon lose leverage. Those who wait too long lose relevance. Balance is the language of abundance, knowing when to move and when to let momentum build. Money doesn't fear risk. It fears recklessness. The difference is awareness. Thinking like money means you take risks that expand, not risks that escape. Every wealthy person learned that risk is not the enemy. Ignorance of risk is. Knowledge turns fear into foresight. The greatest shift happens when you realize that money doesn't change people. It reveals them. It amplifies whatever mindset already exists. That's why you must become the kind of person who can handle expansion before it arrives. Thinking like money is emotional maturity disguised as intelligence. Money respects responsibility. When you handle small amounts well, you're entrusted with larger ones. But if your spending habits show chaos, money interprets that as rejection. You can't attract more of what you can't manage. Discipline tells money it's safe to grow with you. When you think like money, you stop separating financial and personal growth. You understand they reflect each other. The habits that build wealth, patience, consistency, and clarity are the same ones that build character. The wealthiest people invest in awareness as much as assets because one sustains the other. Money is a mirror for energy. It reflects how confidently you move, how clearly you communicate, and how intentionally you live. When you respect time, opportunities, and commitments, you're already speaking money's language. Every disciplined act is a deposit into your financial vibration. To think like money means to think like momentum, always flowing, never stuck. When setbacks come, you don't panic, you pivot. You understand that loss is feedback, not punishment. Money rewards adaptability because adaptability ensures survival. The quicker you learn, the faster it returns. Money becomes an ally, not an obsession. You no longer see it as something outside of you, but as an echo of your internal order. It reflects how you value yourself, how you use your mind, and how well you stay calm in chaos. The better your inner management, the smoother its external flow. When you think like money, scarcity stops making sense. You stop seeing others as competition, because abundance doesn't need enemies. Collaboration becomes currency, and knowledge becomes capital. You don't fight to win, you think to expand. That's when wealth stops escaping you, because you've become what it trusts. You realize money was never running away, it was waiting for you to catch up to its frequency. The moment your mind matches its rhythm, calm, consistent, and strategic, it stays. You no longer chase it because you've become it, organized, valuable, and always in motion. When you think like money, it doesn't leave, it listens. Wealth doesn't begin in your bank account, it begins in your beliefs. The truth is, money was never chasing effort, it was responding to energy. Once you stop working from fear and start creating from awareness, everything around you begins to shift. You stop surviving through exhaustion and start thriving through understanding. The richest people aren't the ones who worked the hardest, they're the ones who learned how to think differently. You were never meant to compete in the endless race of hustle. You were meant to design a lane that fits your rhythm. The moment you understand that mindset shapes movement, effort becomes effortless. You stop forcing results because you finally understand flow. Money moves naturally toward people who are calm, certain, and clear. It avoids confusion and insecurity. When your mind aligns with value, your results can't help but follow. This isn't about shortcuts, it's about strategy. The ones who rise don't outwork everyone else. They outthink them. They know when to pause, when to invest, and when to detach. They treat every decision as a signal, not a reaction. That's what separates freedom from fatigue. The world may run on effort, but it's built by insight, and insight only comes from awareness. At some point, you stop chasing the idea of being rich and start mastering the identity of being responsible with wealth. You realize that financial freedom isn't about owning everything. It's about not being owned by anything, not by fear, not by pressure, not by validation. The mind that understands that will never go broke, no matter what happens in the world. Money is not just earned. It's mirrored. It reflects how you think, how you manage emotion, and how you use your attention. Every dollar you attract is evidence of the clarity you've built. When your mindset matures, your money follows suit. The more intentional you become, the more abundance begins to feel inevitable. And that's the quiet truth most people never reach. You don't chase money once you become what money looks for. You build stability inside yourself first, and wealth simply follows that blueprint, because in the end, success isn't about how much you make, it's about how consciously you create. So stop trying to outwork everyone. Start outgrowing your old thinking. Train your mind to move with precision, not panic. Because when your mindset finally matches your potential, money doesn't need to be earned the hard way anymore. It finds you the smart way.